fake enhanced is the new fake natty. I can't believe this is real, but I got to comment on it because my mind is blown. So there's a channel, Jesse James West. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it because apparently he's like really popular. He did a video where he investigated, this steroid epidemic among teens, and it turns out that there's a bunch of people pretending to be on steroids who aren't actually on steroids, and they even lie about their age. So there was some guy who's like 18 and he's pretending to be a 14-year-old on steroids, and he isn't on steroids, and he isn't 14. And so this is an interesting thing to me because actually this is something I joked about for a long time. So if you guys, most of you know me, and most of the people who watch my videos are people that actually know me. This is an interesting thing. You guys have heard me make jokes about being extra average. It's the average guy and he hops on steroids and he just goes to a bigger version of himself, but he's still, like, you're not an elite athlete. Like, you're still fat and weak. You're just bigger. Like, I'm not saying that to even be mean. It's just like extra average. Like, you went from average to extra average. So like now you're just a bigger version of being average. And I say this to make fun of the people that are like, oh yeah, well, if I took steroids, I could be Lance Armstrong too. And it's like, no, you couldn't. No, you couldn't. Like, if I took steroids, I'd be as big as Ronnie Coleman. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. It's not how they work. So, if it was that easy, shit, I'd just hop on a bunch of gear and make millions of dollars. I'd be playing, I don't know, pro baseball. That pays pretty good, doesn't it? Oh man, if I took steroids, I'd be Alex Rodriguez too. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. It doesn't work like that. You can't just take steroids and become LeBron James. It doesn't have obviously steroids have a performance enhancing effect, okay? But steroids don't have a performance enhancing effect where you take some steroids and then you turn into Tiger Woods. You don't just take some steroids and you turn into Tom Brady. It doesn't work that way. Tom Brady taking steroids would make Tom Brady even better, right? Or pick your favorite powerlifter, John Hack, who was very open about his decision to start using. John Hack was already unbelievably good, started taking steroids and got even better. You can't just take steroids and be John Hack. It doesn't work that way. So anyway, so I make this joke about being extra average. You guys, they go from average to extra average. There's just a bigger version of average. But now we have this thing of being fake enhanced. And that blows my mind because this is something I joked about, like with my friends all the time. I'm just going to start claiming that I'm enhanced. Like, just to be funny. Like, I'm just going to tell people, oh yeah, I'm on, 5 grams of tren. Like, I'm just going to make it up and just say it to be funny. But now it actually happened. And what I found interesting about this is that in this video, they talk about this guy, Toji. I had to look him up. I've never heard of him. And I look at this guy, and he doesn't look like he's on steroids. He just looks like a natural bodybuilder. Like, people like Eric Helms have a better physique than this Toji guy. So this guy's taking drugs that are going to damage his health, and he just looks like a natural bodybuilder. He's not that big. In fact, there are guys who are natural bodybuilders that are bigger than him and leaner than him and have a better looking physique than him. So like, that's really tragic. And that's the other thing I thought was interesting about this video from this Jesse James West. He went up to people and they said they were on steroids, and I looked at them and I was like, they don't look like they're on steroids. Like, they look like a normal guy who lifts. I would have never guessed that they were on steroids. I will point something out to you. I have a pretty good, what do I want to call it, like radar or whatever I want to call it, for recognizing whenever someone is clearly on something, or at least I thought I did. So, I have talked about this in the past. I trained with a guy who set a record in the deadlift, and he deadlifted over 800 pounds, and he competes as a strongman competitor and all this stuff like that. To put this into context, this man is enormous. He's like 365 pounds, and he's like fucking crazy lean. Like, he's not just like 365 pounds and he's fat. Like, he's 365 pounds and he's surprisingly lean for being 365. Like, you can see his abs. I know he isn't bodybuilder lean. He isn't like 6% body fat. But it would not surprise me if you got an accurate measurement on him and he was somewhere around, 10 to 12%. Like, you can see the outline of his abs very clearly. Mind you, he has enormous abdominal muscles because he, is insanely strong and he has huge muscles all over his entire body. But this guy is enormous. I mean, he's like 5'11" and 365 pounds. He's huge. Definitely not built like a bodybuilder, though. He has very, very thick. He's like the Eddie Hall abs. You know what I'm talking about? Like, Eddie Hall has those big giant abs, but he's like also big and round. So when he has a shirt on, he looks like he's fat. But when he takes his shirt off, it's like, oh, he's actually not as fat as he looks. Right, same deal here. So this guy, and funny enough, we nicknamed him Juice. You can guess why. Anyways, that person clearly was on something. Okay? And he was open about it. Like, he never denied it. Like, he was like, he pointed out, like, dude, you're competing in strongman and you're competing in, untested powerlifting. Like, anyone who competes in untested powerlifting is on something. Anyways, point being, though, so yeah, I made this joke a long time ago that I was going to call myself fake enhanced. Maybe I'm never going to do that joke because it's not funny that people are actually doing that. It's only funny if people don't do that. So apparently guys are now pretending to be enhanced to become popular on social media. And I think that this really illustrates to us how steroids have become so acceptable. You used to not be allowed to talk about this stuff. No one talked about this stuff. Why would you talk about this stuff? If you were on something, you're going to keep your mouth shut because otherwise you'd be admitting that you're committing a crime. Because the reality is, and this is, just the truth of things about drugs in general, people who use drugs tend to also sell it to their friends. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they're a drug dealer, but, maybe you smoke marijuana and one of your friends hits you up and like, yo, dude, can I buy some of that off of you? And maybe sell them $5 worth of marijuana. I have no idea what marijuana goes for, actually. I don't know if $5 of marijuana is a lot or a little. But similarly, I'm sure that there's someone out there using testosterone and, they don't produce it. They're not like a drug dealer with a website or something. But, a buddy hits them up and says, yo, dude, can I buy a vial of test off you? And they sell it. Now, technically, you've committed a crime of, dealing drugs. And, you're not supposed to be in possession of these things, depending on where you live. There's Schedule 3 or Schedule 2. I believe New York is Schedule 2. This is a crime, legally. I don't think it deserves to be a crime. I don't think it's a victimless crime. Why would you prosecute people for a victimless crime? Who's the victim? But that's a completely separate discussion. The point is that the way the laws are currently written, it's a crime. So why would people ever admit to it? I don't know. I understand why so many bodybuilders just never made a comment either way. It's like, are you on something? It's like, no comment. Okay. I'm fine with that. And, all of us are using performance-enhancing drugs if you think about it logically. Do you use caffeine? Oh, caffeine is performance-enhancing, isn't it? And technically, caffeine is a drug. So, we're going to make fun of people and criticize them and say, oh, you're cheating because you're using anabolic steroids while we're popping Adderall to study for the MCAT, and we're taking, Provigil to study for our LSAT, and we're drinking copious amounts of caffeine in order for us to go to work each day. Because my drug is acceptable, just like alcohol. It's totally acceptable for me to drink an inordinate amount of alcohol. I can drink all the alcohol I want. I won't go to prison for it. But, some guy smokes marijuana and he goes to prison for it. And it's like, because my drug is morally superior to your drug. Anyways, the point here that I want to pick up on is the fact that it is so strange to me that there are people pretending to be on steroids. And so I think that this really truly illustrates to us how this drug has been glorified. Apparently this guy who's 18 and pretends to be 14 has a social media following of like 200,000 followers because he claims that he's on trend. You know, someone told me the other day to stop posting educational content and to post more entertaining content. And I get that. I appreciate that. I understand that if I wanted to be successful, the trick would be for me to just take my shirt off and act like an idiot on camera and be entertaining. I'm not entertaining. And so I just keep doing my own thing, right? But what I really want to point out to you guys here is that you should now be suspect of literally everything. So when guys are out there telling you, this is my cycle and this is what I take, and you don't even know if they actually take anything. Apparently there are enough people pretending to take things when they're not taking anything. And so now you should be especially skeptical. If you thought people lied about their dosages before, oh, I'm only on 300 milligrams, when the guy's walking around at like 400 fucking pounds, you should now be extra skeptical when someone tells you, I'm on tren, and there's no way this dude's actually on tren. Doesn't even look like he's on tren. And apparently people are doing that to become popular on social media. And the other thing I thought was interesting was actually this clip, you know, in that Jesse James West thing where Toji says that steroids are great because, you know, his goal was to become famous and now he's famous. And it's like, that's a really shallow goal. But whatever. You don't look like you're on steroids, bud. You look like a natural bodybuilder. So, I don't know. Maybe dial in your diet, start lifting heavy, and get more sleep. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm actually suggesting that maybe you should stop taking drugs that are going to harm your health in the long run. Because after all, like, the truth of it is, and I make fun of this, and I include myself, we're all just pretending to do physical labor. Lifting weights is pretending to do physical labor. Like, you could go get a job working in a coal mine. Like, it's a privilege. Like, we're all very fortunate that we can work out and exercise for leisure. Like, you don't have to do this. No one's pointing a gun at you or beating you with a whip or something. We lift weights because we enjoy lifting weights. Like, that's why I don't understand people who complain, I'm not motivated to go to the gym. Then don't. Don't. Like, you don't have to. Like, no one's forcing you to do this. So we live in a very fortunate time where we lift weights for fun. And maybe people shouldn't take themselves so seriously.